Hey guys, it is Rick here with my second half of January reviews. So if you didn't check out my review that I did on Dog, which released recently from Warner Brothers, I'm going to start to record videos again. I'm not sure of a schedule. They might be weekly. If I'm feeling zesty, I might drop a few in 1 week, but probably weekly. And I'm switching my review videos to basically a part 1 and part 2. Because if not, I would have 1, 2, 6, 12, 16. As of right now, I would have 19 review videos to record. So I'm basically going to split months up in half, do a part 1, part 2 of each month review video wise. And I have not recorded since the middle of January. So I'm 4 months behind on reviews, plus 4 months behind on pickups. So slowly going to get back in the swing of things and start making new content for you guys. So not nude content, just new content. So we have a ton of movies to talk about. And whereas before, when I have a big month like this, like there are 16 or 17 movies I watched the second half of January, and I'm 4 months removed from some of these. I'm just going to kind of like look through and give brief thoughts. The poster's going to be next to me. The other thing I'm not going to do anymore is like hold up the different, like if I watched it on Blu-ray or if I watched it on 4K, I'll mention that in the review where I watched it. But just have the poster next to me, and I'll still do my number grade out of 5 next to me. So a few little changes, but we're going to dive right in because like I said, a ton to talk about. Still going to do my surprises, surprise of the month and hot trash of the month in each part 2 video. So stay tuned to the end of this video for that. So right away, we'll dive in. The first thing we watched the second half of January was Hotel Transylvania Transformania on Amazon Prime. So basically on par with the third movie specifically. The first two, in my opinion, slightly better. It was a bit bizarre because this time around, the voice cast is minus Adam Sandler, minus Kevin James, replaced by Brian Hull and Brad Abril, two people I've never heard about, but I assume specialize in voice acting. I think this was a slight improvement over the third one for me, but definitely less fun than the first two. Snickered a few times, but this is your typical like animated movie now, not a standout in my opinion. Hotel Transylvania Transformania gets a 2.5 out of 5. Like I said, if you have kids, check it out. If you've watched the other 3, definitely check it out. But nothing mind-blowing here. Next up on Netflix, I checked out Afterlife of the Party. Basically, I thought this was going to be like a more, I don't want to say an adult movie, but like definitely like a rated R film. The concept is Victoria Justice's character basically dies, and she has like a week to make good on like people she left behind because she was a self-centered person. Very, very teen movie with a weird, dark premise. You know, she's lost touch with their dad, and that's a big part of the story. You know, some of the stuff was really, really bad. There are a few like touching parts in the third act of the film that kind of like brought it up, probably from like half-star or 1-star territory. But nothing I would recommend spending time and checking out. I gave Afterlife at the Party a 1.5 out of 5. Next up is The Ice Road, which I watched on Netflix. And obviously I did not learn my lesson because after ranting in one of the most recent review videos that are like months old at this point, I said I was done watching PG-13 Liam Neeson movies, and here I am watching another PG-13 Liam Neeson movie, this time one that was on Netflix, and this was the same old stuff. You know, definitely better than The Marksman and Honest Thief for me, but that's not saying much. There's some fun action and suspense in this movie, basically about it's like about an ice road convoy, and essentially like an ice road trucker action drama film. So it's about miners who get trapped and they need ice road truckers in April to get the proper goods to rescue them. But like I said, it's been a while since Liam Neeson has blown me away with one of his films. And recently these PG-13 ones, like I know he has another, at least one, if not two new ones. They've come out this year already. Blacklight. I want to say there was another one. I'm not touching them. I'm not going to watch them. I'm done. I've thrown in the towel on Liam Neeson PG-13 movies. I can't do it anymore. So The Ice Road gets a 2.5 out of 5. It's more the same, in my opinion, from Liam Neeson. Next up, I checked out Beckett on Netflix, the newer John David Washington film. John David Washington stars as a guy named Beckett who's in Greece with his girlfriend, played by Alicia Vikander, falls asleep at the wheel, gets in a car accident, crashes through a house. His girlfriend dies in the accident. That's like the first 10 minutes of the film, no spoilers. And all of a sudden, all these people are trying to like hunt him down and kill him. We're not quite sure why. There's lots of like twists and turns in the movie. Some are very easy to spot, others a bit surprising. There's a lot of undertones about political unrest in other countries, and it kept my interest for the most part. There are parts where it's pretty bland and I was losing interest, but overall a decent movie. It looks really good, and John David Washington is really good, in my opinion, for a young actor. Obviously, he has Denzel to try to fill in those footsteps, which good luck, man. But yeah, Beckett gets a 3 out of 5 for me. On Netflix, check it out if it sounds like something interesting. Next up was a Ryan Gosling film I'd never seen, and this one is The United States of Leland, which we watched on DVD. This movie definitely followed the trend of like the late 90s, early 2000s, darker coming-of-age movies. Stuff like Life as a House, Almost Famous, Virgin Suicides, 13, The Ice Storm, like that kind of thing. But upon like closer inspection of the cast of this movie, obviously you have Ryan Gosling, but you have Don Cheadle, Kevin Spacey, Jenna Malone, Michelle Williams, Michael Pena, Kerry Washington, among others. And basically the movie is about a quirky, quiet teenager played by Ryan Gosling, who commits a crime and basically says the day was a blur. He doesn't remember anything about it. He goes to a juvenile detention center. Don Cheadle is a teacher there. And Leland, who is Ryan Gosling's character, gravitates to Cheadle's character. And, you know, it's an interesting movie. I'm glad I finally got to see it. Definitely some really good performances, and the story, like I said, it's heartbreaking in parts. It's not a upbeat movie for the most part, and yeah, I give it a 3.5 out of 5. United States of Leland, definitely worth checking out. Never got a Blu-ray release, only on DVD. Next up was the movie Together on Hulu. The movie is about a 40-something-year-old person, Ed Helms, who decides he wants to find a surrogate so he can be a father. He finds Anna, who's played by, I believe it's Patty Harrison. There's an annoying dog outside barking. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Really annoying. And she's a loner, but Matt gravitates to her, and Matt is Ed Helms' character, and decides that she would be the perfect surrogate. And they basically are two loners who get tied together by this bond of her carrying his child, and two totally different lifestyles and lives that they live. But the movie tackled surrogacy in a really interesting way, offered some laughs. Patty Harrison's really, really good in the movie. She's really a standout in the film. It was a touching story that definitely pulled at the heartstrings. I gave Together a 3.5 out of 5. The next thing we watched was also on Netflix, and it was the movie The Lost Daughter. Maggie Gyllenhaal, I believe it's her directorial debut, and she also wrote the movie as well. Basically about a female professor played by Olivia Colman who's on vacation, looks back at a past life that she had, and you know, my issue with this movie is Olivia Colman gives a fantastic performance. However, like other recent movies that I'd watched, House of Gucci, The Father, Nomadland, they're driven by a great performance or great performances, but the story just doesn't really suck me in and like get me really pumped for what's on the screen. However, Olivia Colman gives a fantastic performance in The Lost Daughter, and I don't even really remember the end of the movie or how it ended. Like I said, I probably watched this about 4 months ago. But I gave The Lost Daughter a 3.5 out of 5. Olivia Colman, great performance. The rest of the movie was just for me. Next up, we rewatched a movie that we were just jonesing to check out and revisit, and that is The House Bunny, which stars Anna Faris, Emma Stone, Colin Hanks, Rumor Willis, Kat Dennings, Beverly D'Angelo, Chris McDonald, Hugh Hefner's in it. Basically, Anna Faris is a 28-year-old Playboy bunny who lives in the mansion. She's one of Hef's girlfriends. But she basically is told that she's getting dumped. She's a local down in her dumps and ends up coming across a sorority house. A bunch of nerdy girls. They're about to lose their charter at the school, and Anna Faris wants to be their house mother to try to like turn the house around. Plus, it's somewhere for her to live because now she doesn't live in the Playboy Mansion anymore. And it's a goofy, silly comedy that is a fun watch for sure, and offers laughs, and it's just a fun movie. So, The House Bunny gets a 3.5 out of 5. It was a rewatch for us, and like I said, it was a fun time. Next up, we watched a movie called Sex Appeal, with the APP capitalized because it is about an app. So this was on Hulu. It was a Hulu exclusive. I was pretty excited about this because of the movie Plan B, which 2021 was one of my favorites of the year, probably my top comedy or one of my top comedies. This had some familiar faces in the trailer, Margaret Cho, Fortune Feimster, but it was basically about an incredibly smart high school student who's ready to take her long distance relationship to the next level, but she is a perfectionist, so she wants to find a friend who will basically, she basically, through a STEM conference, she creates an app to have perfect sex, and she gets her best friend, who's been her lifelong friend, to help her like test the app and also perfect her prowess before hooking up with her long distance boyfriend. And while the silliness, like in a premise like that, should have been there, the story goes in a very, very obvious direction, very predictable, and the laughs were just few and far between for the movie. So I gave it a 2.5 out of 5. Sex Appeal on Hulu. Not one I would rush out to see. Unlike the next movie, which we had watched on DVD from a library, and that is a movie called 9 Days. This would actually have been on my best of 2021 list if I had watched it before I recorded that video, which I don't believe I did. I don't think I did. Pretty sure I didn't. No, that wouldn't make sense. So it would be on the best of my 2021 list. People kept recommending it to me, but the trailer and premise just seemed really weird, and I was kind of hesitant to check it out. So the movie is about a man named Will, who's an interviewer for people to be born, which obviously sounds pretty bizarre, but features so many great performances. Benedict Wong, Zazie Beetz, and Winston Duke, who plays the lead character. And basically, like I said, he interviews people to find out if they're going to be born. And they have to like pass a test, and it lasts 9 days. And like I said, it sounds bizarre, guys, but the movie was fantastic. Definitely looking to add this one to my collection on physical. Spoiler alert, it'll be in a future video. Not going to tell you which one though, and not going to tell you format or how I got it. Stay tuned. So 9 Days gets a 4.5 out of 5. A fantastic film with a bizarre premise, but a great movie. Next up was Oasis, Nebworth 1996, which I watched on Paramount Plus. A movie about the band Oasis, a handful of years into their career, after releasing the album What's the Story, Morning Glory, they basically decide to do a concert in Nebworth, which is a huge concert venue in England. And they sell 250,000 tickets for a 2-night concert. And over 2.5 million people applied to buy the tickets. This was before websites and all that. You know, they said the demand for this has never been seen since or before for a concert event, which is pretty wild. They said they could have easily sold out 20 straight nights based on the amount of demand and the amount of people that could fit in the venue. And Strong Record is, the largest demand ever for a concert in British history. The first 25 minutes of the movie basically build up the event, has some of the behind the scenes stuff with Oasis. And then the rest of the movie is pretty much a concert film with footage from the 2 shows that's basically spliced in between like crowds and interviews. I'm not a huge Oasis fan. I do enjoy some of their music, a lot of their radio stuff. But to see the history behind the event, how big the event actually was pretty wild. So I gave Oasis Nebworth 1996 a 3 out of 5. Like I said, that's available on Paramount Plus. The next thing I watched was a movie called Ride the Eagle on Hulu. The movie caught my eye because it starred Jake Johnson, who I enjoyed quite a bit. You might know him from New Girl. That's the thing I think of him. I think about when I think of him. He was also in Jurassic World. He was pretty funny in that. So it's about Jake Johnson's character. His mother passes away and leaves a conditional inheritance of her cabin. But he goes to the cabin to find out like what the inheritance is, and she recorded a videotape where he has to watch it and basically learn some life lessons to be able to take possession of the cabin. So it's pretty much him and his dog. There's a few supporting performances by Darcy Carden. Yeah, I believe that's her name. J.K. Simmons. But like I said, it's pretty much him and a dog the entire time. Beautiful scenery in the film. Lots of soul searching, dealing with a loved one that you might have like become distant with, but accepting that they're gone and moving on with your life. So, Ride the Eagle, a watchable movie. I believe it was only like an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 25 minutes. And it is available on Hulu, or it was at the time I watched it. And I give it a 3 out of 5. Next up was another movie from the library on DVD, and it was called Crisis. A movie that once again reminded me of movies from the early 2000s. There's multiple plots going on. They put it all in the same movie. Stuff like Traffic, 21 Grams, Crash, that kind of vibe to it. The cast includes Armie Hammer, Gary Oldman, Evangeline Lilly, Greg Kinnear, Luke Evans, Michelle Rodriguez, some others. Basically, the movie tackles the opioid epidemic and is based on true events to an extent. And the story keeps you guessing, but also overstays its welcome by about a half an hour. So it was a one-time watch that was enjoyable, but nothing crazy. Obviously the something about it bothered me because I say it's watchable, but I gave it a 1.5 out of 5. So there must have been something at the time that I didn't like, which was a 1.5 for this. It sounds like a 2.5 for me, but I give it a 1.5. So there you go, Crisis. I must have been on a streak of watching stuff from the library because the next thing was another DVD from the library. This time a film called Dangerous. A movie with an interesting cast. Looked like it could be fun, like primarily in a single location, basically this old like bed and breakfast. This was a cluster of mediocrity and horrible acting. Stars Scott Eastwood, basically, who's like a killer in this movie and is trying so desperate to be his dad, Clint Eastwood, and the way he delivers lines and the action in the film. He is a shrink that is played by Mel Gibson, who's a very weird character in the movie. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Definitely would be in my bottom 5 of 2021. It was rough to get through. I gave it a 1 out of 5, and I think I'm being quite nice. I definitely think this is a half-star movie looking back on it. I remember watching this. This was really, really bad. It was really hard to watch. So, next up, we watched a new movie from Netflix at the time called Home Team. Went in with very low expectations. It was a new Kevin James movie, a Happy Madison production. And it was about Sean Payton, coach of the New Orleans Saints, who was part of a scandal and couldn't coach for a year, which is true story, and ended up coaching for his son who was in middle school. Yeah, 6th grade football team. He ends up coaching that his son was a part of. There was one scene in the trailer that I was really worried about because it goes up over the top and like super stupid. There's a scene where there's a bunch of kids throwing up, and I was like, man, I hope the movie isn't all like this. And watching the movie, that was the weakest part of the movie by far. The movie gave me vibes of like a Little Giants, Big Green, Mighty Ducks, ragtag bunch of kids. Like I said, there's the scene with the throwing up that's in the trailer that I just wish it wasn't in the movie. Like, it really took me out of that part of the movie. But actually based on true events, like true life. Obviously they dramatized it a bit. They added comedy elements, Kevin James playing Sean Payton, but I enjoyed the movie. It got a lot of flack. I enjoyed it. I really was not expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. And if it didn't have that puke scene, it would probably end up being like a 3.5. For me, I give it a 3 out of 5. The puke scene it's awful. It didn't need to be in the movie. It doesn't add anything to the movie. But Home Team, 3 out of 5. Next up, we have 2 more to talk about, guys. Next up is She's All That, a 90s classic. It's been on my rewatch radar for quite a while. Finally got a chance to revisit it, especially like after watching He's All That and not being a huge fan of that. I wanted to revisit the original. Once again, a loaded cast, like some 20 plus years later. Freddie Prinze Jr., Rachel Lee Cook, Matthew Lillard, Anna Paquin, Paul Walker, Gabrielle Union, Dule Hill, Kieran Culkin, all in that movie. And typical late 90s, early 2000s teen comedy. Of course, there's a choreographed dance sequence that everybody knows this, the dance. And I think this came out in 99, if I remember correctly. So end of 90s. Definitely some plot lines that wouldn't fly now in PC culture. High school kids smoking, which you don't see now. And it's funny, to go off on a side tangent. Recently, we've been watching the Rocky movies with RJ. And in Rocky 5, his son is smoking in one scene with other kids who are smoking. And it really, like, RJ was like, why are they smoking? Like, ew, that's... And I didn't, like, realize how often, like, everybody, including kids, smoked in movies back then. And, like, this was an example from 99 where it showed high schoolers and they were smoking. But movies now, I mean, not as many people smoke now, but it was just something I thought was interesting for him to pick out of the movie. But a fun use of the F-bomb in the movie, which is always during the PG-13 to make, good use of that one F-bomb you get. I gave She's All That, I believe, a 3.5 out of 5. So a fun, like I said, teen comedy from the 90s, late 90s. And then the last movie we watched in January, number 31, we watched 31 movies in January, was the documentary Katy Perry, Part of Me, which I was under the impression I'd never seen it before. Bridget recommended that we watch it. I got it from Pam. I got an even cooler version when I was out hunting with a really neat slipcover. And we started the movie, and like 20 minutes in, I was like, I've seen this before. Like, on Letterboxd, it didn't say I had seen it, which was weird. Basically, the movie takes place during her 2011 Teenage Dream Tour. Her relationship and marriage with Russell Brand is falling apart. Not at the beginning of the movie, but in the middle of the movie. So it goes with her trying to do a world tour, deal with a failing marriage. Lots of fun concert footage, lots of her popular songs from her early career are in there. Dives into her backstory, talks about stuff like her breakout, I Kissed a Girl, and how that caused great popularity for her. What she did before she was a pop star. She was a Christian singer, if you did not know that about Katy Perry. But you guys know I'm a sucker for music films. I'm a sucker for documentaries and music docs. I am a big sucker for. And Katy Perry, pardon me, I gave a 4 out of 5 to. I really enjoyed this one. So that is it, guys. That is everything I watched in January. Multiple pieces of paper wasted, but I watched a lot. So surprise of the month, hot trash of the month. Luckily, I talked about both of them in this video, because if not, it would have been stuff I talked about 4 months ago. Surprise of the month is the film 9 Days. Like I said, guys, a bizarre premise, but an outstanding movie with fantastic performances. Definitely check out 9 Days. I highly, highly recommend it. A movie that had me thinking a lot about it for weeks after I watched it. And hot trash of the month was the movie Dangerous. It was really bad. Scott Eastwood, you are not your father, and you should probably not try to be him. So thank you guys for watching this video. As always, like I said, back to doing videos probably once a week or so. You'll get a new video from me. So thank you for watching. Check out the description box down below if you guys want links to my socials. Also, my eBay stores down there, Blu-ray.com profile, Letterboxd, email address, P.O. Box can all be found down below. That is it. So as always, until next time, who's down to movie?